Hello friends, today I want to show you a comparison between these two lenses. Here we are talking about the Yongnuo, probably spelling that incorrectly, 50mm 1.8, and then here we have the Nikkor 50mm 1.8. We are talking about 50mm 1.8 lenses because this is the kind of lens you will get and people get when they start to get serious about photography. I did it with the version of the Nikkor, and then I moved to the 1.4, and then yes, I moved to different many things after, but then this was my entry point into serious photography. And then why I choose this, and then why people choose this lens, is because it is not a very expensive lens. I just checked it. The Nikkor new goes for about 200 euros. That's new. And then you get the hood width. The Yongnuo is like 40% less, so that makes 120 euros. I saw also 110, I saw 100, talking about new. I didn't got a hood with this one, so you will need to get a hood for it. That will make an additional 10 to 20 euros depending on where you get the hood. Okay, so I was talking about the 50mm 1.8 and then why people choose it. One of the reasons I just said, they are not very expensive, and then they gather a decent amount of light, so you can start experimenting as well with low light photography. And then the other thing, 1.8 gives also nice bokeh, so you can also play with that and then have fun with bokeh. So these are the three reasons people get this kind of lens. So they're not very expensive, they gather a decent amount of light, and then they already produce good amount of bokeh. And then obviously the 50mm is a very useful focal length. You can do portraits, you can do street photography, you can do many things with it. So let's start with the comparison. So we start with the physical comparisons, and then first thing you might notice is that both lenses look exactly the same. So maybe this is just speculation. The Yongnuo is just a copy of the Nikkor because all the details, again here the bayonet, the distribution of screws is exactly the same. The position of this element, well, this one is natural because it's to block the lens in position, but then this one here doesn't need to be there. Both lenses have 7 blades, which is going to produce particular pattern in the bokeh when close, and then the sun stars with 14 points, and this I don't remember exactly. And then here on the front, no surprises here, they look also exactly the same. The diameter of the thread here for the filter is 58mm here, and then on the Yongnuo is written here, so 58. Both lenses are not very practical filter wise because 58 is not like a really common size for filters. I like and I prefer obviously 52 and 62, which are like the standard of Nikon, and you can swap filters easily. So one last thing, so construction pretty much the same, both are plastic, both feel plastic, so no surprises there. Then weight, this is also one argument some people use to buy their lenses, but then here you will see 186 grams, and then here 189, so you have only 2-gram difference. So this is not a showstopper for any of these lenses. So far both lenses look exactly the same. So you might be asking yourself why I should put 40% more for the Nikon when I can have the Yongnuo cheaper. So I'm not going to give you the answer to that question, I will let you judge. So what I'm going to do now is to show you some comparison pictures I made. So what we do, and then what I usually do, is I take pictures, reference pictures both exactly the same at the minimum focusing distance of both lenses, which happens to be 45 centimeters for both, and then we do a second set of images with a more regular working distance. So let's go right now for the comparisons. For the first comparison, I prepared this little scene, which consists of the lens calibration target that we're going to use to check sharpness, and then I use it to do the best possible focusing, so I am able to do images that are comparable. I took this Christmas lightning just to take a look at the bokeh the lenses are producing. I took this Dexter doll to take a look at the colors, and then you will tell me it has very little colors, but then it has something interesting. The hair is orange, and then the gloves are purple, and then these are quite opposite on the color spectrum. So, and then to finish, for the details, I have this little chain, and then I put it intentionally a bit off-centered, so we take a look at the edges where the lenses have trouble getting perfect sharpness. So this is it. Then if we take a look at the global images, they both look the same, with the slight difference that the Yongnuo that we have here is slightly wider. You see, I am able to see the edge here of the chain, whereas the Nikkor has a tighter angle, and then here I'm not seeing already a part of the chain, and then the image is slightly bigger, but then it is still comparable. So that will be the first difference. Then if we take a look, we have a slightly different color rendition, with the Nikkor being a bit warmer, and then here the opposite, obviously being a bit colder. If we take a look, I let the camera do the white balance by herself, and then I got here 4853 Kelvin, and then here with the Nikon 5077, and that's constant for the same lighting conditions. So slight different color rendition due to the lenses, but then all in all the colors are quite nice in both lenses. Here, bokeh wise, there's also a little difference. You can see that the bokeh bubbles that the Nikkor produce are slightly bigger, and then this is usually something we want when we're taking, for example, portraits. So that's for that. Even though the bokeh bubbles with the Yongnuo have something interesting, and that's they have this shiny rim, which is a bit contrast, and then that I like a lot because it gives some character to the bokeh. For example, we have it here over and over. The Nikkor seems to have it, but it is stumped on the thing. That will be the only difference. The ideal thing will be big bokeh bubbles, and then with this shiny rim, this is the thing I would like the best. Okay, let's check on the focusing distance. Here, I forgot to mention, we are at f1.8 with both lenses, so this is the maximum aperture. And then I did the focusing around this collection of black and white squares. And then first thing you will notice is that the Yongnuo is not very sharp in this region, and then this is the best I could do, and then I did many trials, you have to know that. And then here with the Nikkor you get wide open, very sharp image, and then obviously the other elements on the image are going to follow in terms of sharpness, even though there is something interesting, and then we will see it here on the Dexter, is that I got the impression that the Yongnuo was designed to be more uniform through the frame. This is my impression, so sharpness is somehow constant, whereas the Nikkor seems to be designed to be sharp here on the center, and then less better, I would say, in the corners. And then we can maybe take a look here in this corner, and then we can see here, we can see some effects of this spherical aberration, and then here we can see, well, looks good, but then I don't know, hard to explain, but I think you see and then you understand what I mean. And then maybe this is more an effect of the aspherical surface that the Nikkor has, and then that allows to have superior performance. And then here again the bokeh, as I mentioned before. So this is for the wide open. So if we just jump to 2.8, I took also images at f2, but I don't think they are worth mentioning because they look almost identical to the ones taken at 1.8. Okay, so we have moved one stop, and then here we are at 2.8, and then first thing we're going to check all over is the sharpness around the focusing region. And then here we can see the Yongnuo got actually really good. The Nikkor obviously got better as well, but then it's hard to tell if there is really a difference between both lenses. Maybe here, if we take a look, we have a bit difference on the color rendition, and then here on the chain we can see some details, a lot of details. And then I have to be honest with you, but that will be just my opinion, I like more how the chain is being rendered here by the Nikkor. Maybe it's the color rendition that makes gray over gray, whereas here the Yongnuo, you can see even some chromatic aberration here on the camera, and then here the ground seems to be a bit bluish, and then that ruins a bit the experience of watching this chain here, which I really like here. Here on the other hand, for the details, as we move towards the corner, you can see here the Yongnuo is okay, and then I think even the details are slightly better than the Nikkor here in the corner. Okay, so let's stay here and then let's jump to f4. But images improve, but then I remain here believing that the details are slightly better here than here. Okay, and then here we can start seeing a bit difference on the color rendition. Not really important, but then we can see that the color of the gloves are slightly different. And then here we are looking at it at the screen that has been calibrated. So the colors are really nice. Okay, we come again to this zone that I told you I like it before, with the Nikkor, and then here you have it. The chromatic aberration is almost gone, but then I don't know, hard to tell you, but I like more the part with the Nikkor. Okay, and then overall obviously the bokeh bubbles are shrinking because we are closing down the lens. We take a look again at the sharpness. Both lenses are doing really well. Here we move to the text in the corner, and then it looks really well. Maybe just the Yongnuo are slightly weaker here, but nothing to get worried about it. And then if we jump to 5.6, things look great for the Yongnuo. I even dare saying that the Yongnuo might be slightly sharper at 5.6, but honestly it is really hard to see at this point, because both look extremely good. So let us look at this image here. Yeah, they almost look identical. If you give it to me or do anyone else, that person is going to be unable to tell you which is which. And then just to finish, let us pull back and then go f8. This is the usual maximum I do when I do street photography, because I like to have enough shutter speed to freeze motion and then enough depth of field. So in generally I like to shoot f4, 5 and 6 and then 8 when I want really sharp things. Okay, so far so good. These are the lenses. Let us just take a last look at both lenses at f8 at some critical locations. Here on the corner both look really good. And then if we go to the center here where the focusing is made, both look really nice. And then here on the far corner both look really good. And then here at this point at f8 I have to say, I don't have to say anything, but look really good and look the same. Okay, so that's for the closest focusing distance. Now we're going to move to the standard focusing distance. I want to show you also this, consider this as a bonus, and then what you're seeing here is a flare comparison between the two lenses. So what I did is I wanted to do the forest and then the sun was setting, and then I put the camera against the sun, and then this is what I got. Here you have the Yongnuo wide open, and then here the Nikkor. So we have really different behaviors. The Yongnuo is producing this ring, which, to be honest, I don't like it at all. Maybe you like it, but I don't. And then here, the Nikkor, on the other hand, is very flare resistant, but then the flare is almost boring. So, I don't know, what do you think? What I have to say here, if you want and looking for a lens that makes flare, like for videos or something like that, I don't think any of these two lenses is the way to go, because here with the Nikkor you get something which is really boring. On the opposite, if you want something which is really flare resistant, the Nikkor is the way to go, and then the Yongnuo, no comment. Okay, let's jump into f2 to see what happens with the flare. Then here we have some evolution. This ugly ring is almost gone, and then something interesting is happening here, and then this here might be an internal reflection. Now I notice that the focusing is not exactly the same, but then I was concentrating more on the flare than on the focus. We move to 2.8, and then we just saw before with the short distance comparisons at 2.8 the Yongnuo gets really good, and then this is what we see here as well. The image got contrasty, and then all these flare artifacts disappear. Well, at least the bad ones. We have the good ones here that I like, and then maybe something here that might be an internal reflection, and then the Nikkor keeps being boring. f4 stuff is happening here, so we get again kind of internal reflection here on the Yongnuo. Might be interesting to play with, and then the artifacts here are getting, I would say, pretty, and then the Nikkor again boring. So this is up to you. I don't know how to judge flare. This is a very personal choice, but then this is what you get in terms of flare with these lenses. Now let's go to the standard distance comparisons. So for the middle distance comparison, I went into the woods to this lake dam that is around here, and then I took as reference this element here because I have this sign here which has really good contrast pure black and white, so I can do really good focusing and then be sure that my focusing is right, so I can make both images comparable. And then here, this is what you get. Here we have the Yongnuo wide open, here we have the Nikkor wide open, and then one can see immediately that there are a few differences between the images, but are really good. But then, for example, here you have on the top of the pole a bit of glow that's due to the spherical aberration. You can even perceive like a hint of chromatic aberration on the Yongnuo, and then here on the Nikkor you don't get any of those, because the Nikkor has an spherical element just to correct all that kind of things. But I'm not saying this is bad. I actually like it because it gives like a dreamy look to the image, and then this is the kind of things why people get 1.2 lenses, just to get this little dreamy effect, which is really pleasing. And then I actually like it here on the Yongnuo. Contrast wise, we can see it is a bit behind the Nikkor, but not really bad. I say both images look good. And then if we move around the image, okay, this is not what I wanted to do, but then here you go. We are a bit on the top corner, and then we can see that both images have very good details. So if you tell me take this or that lens to this kind of assignment, I will take any, because they both produce really nice images. Maybe here, if we take a look at the bottom, we can say maybe the Nikkor is a bit better because it's more uniform on the frame, but nevertheless, both images, I like them both, so this is a good point for both lenses. Okay, and then if we want to take a look at a really far distance, I move also my tripod, and then I made also images of the other part of the dam. This is what you get. We are still wide open. We can see a slight difference in color between both lenses. Here the Nikkor is producing a deeper green, the Yongnuo is producing something which is a bit bluish, so maybe you don't see it on your screen. I'm checking this on a calibrated screen, so this is why maybe I may see the difference and you don't, but then there's really a color difference here. And then here maybe this thing is maybe 30 meters away, and then I made the focusing on this little chain, and then you can see both lenses are producing very good images, as we saw before, with slightly, well, contrast wise the Yongnuo is a bit behind, but I'm not saying the image is unpleasing. And then here the Nikkor as before, very good contrast. And then let's move around the image. Okay, this is what I wanted to get. Here we have the wall, and then here we have this little bird. I think it's a crane, but I'm not sure. And then we can see that the Yongnuo is not rendering is as good as the Nikkor, so I can very quickly conclude that the Nikkor at a really far distance is really good, better than the Yongnuo. And then at a middle distance, I would say a few meters, 2 to 3, like before, we can see that the Yongnuo and the Nikkor are quite equivalent. But then here, really far distance, you're getting here a peak and then huge difference. Okay, I'm just going to move to f2 to see if there is an improvement. Okay, not really. And then let us jump to 2.8, which was in short distance what we saw. It was producing the best results. And then here we see the Yongnuo gets really good, but then yeah, it cannot compete, to be honest, with the Nikkor at a long distance. And then here I think, okay, the crane is still there. I was very lucky that the bird didn't move a lot while I was doing these pictures. Okay, and then let us just try to look at a different zone of the image. And then, okay, yeah, let's be honest, the Nikkor is doing better. And then at the focusing point, both lenses are doing rather good. Okay, and then let us jump back to 2.8, but this time at the middle distance, and then we take again a look at the sign, and then here this is what you get at 2.8 middle distance. They are performing, I would say, almost identically. So if you think you will be working on a middle distance, I would say 2-3 meters, I think the Yongnuo is a very good candidate, because here I am at 2.8, and then, to be honest, I cannot even tell the difference between both lenses. Both are doing really good. Just maybe let me put a bit back. Maybe here, just with the colors, I can see a slight difference, but it's just from the lens, because here, if I check the white balance, with the Yongnuo I have 50,060 kelvins, and with the Nikkor I have exactly the same thing. So the color difference here are really from the lens. And then now that I take a deeper look, I can see here that it is a bit more bluish, but then it is hardly noticeable. Okay, let us jump to f4. We look at the sign, no big changes, both look extremely good. So you see, even here I didn't notice before, there was like a spider web, and then it's looking really good on both lenses. I think I even dare to say it's looking even a bit better in the Yongnuo here at f4, and then I think we already noticed that before in the short distance, that the Yongnuo was doing really good at f4. I would say even better than the Nikkor, and then I think here we are confirming it at a mid distance. Then let me just go back to the long distance just to make sure it is the case also here. So we are at f4. If I come here to the focusing point, but images look really good. And then, well, at a long distance, the Yongnuo is underperforming. If you compare it to the Nikon, obviously. We can see here this part of the bridge. That, yeah, the Yongnuo is a bit behind. Okay, so let us maybe try 5.6 to see if there is an improvement. It's getting nice, but still not at the level of the Nikkor. Yeah, the Nikkor here is super sharp, super crisp, whereas the Yongnuo, but then we're talking at a long distance, looks rather weak. Okay, we saw that. Let's maybe take a look at this thing here, whatever that is. Okay, and then maybe this is a good point. I got the impression that here at a closer distance the Yongnuo is rather good. I'd say maybe a bit better here, but then, well, it's a complex image, not really easy to judge. Let us maybe take a look at the reflection of this tree. Okay, and then yes, okay, the Yongnuo, if you get it close, it is rather good. Okay, so we are at 5.6. Let us jump back to the short distance. Okay, everything is getting in focus. Then as before, we can see that the Yongnuo is slightly wider. We can see more of this thing here than here. And then if we move to the focusing point, okay, impossible to tell any difference whatsoever between both lenses. Very good details. Let us try to come and see again this little spider web that was here. I would say we can see it rather well in both. Let me even try to go at 200%. This is a crop 200%. I think both images are exploitable. So very good. So let me just jump. Let me keep it here. Let me jump. No, I want this, and then I'm just going to jump at f8. Can start maybe seeing a bit of the background. Not really, but then here you go. I think, and it's my feeling, at a close distance the Yongnuo, it is slightly better. But you are seeing the same images as me, so I let you judge that, and then put a comment if you want. And then let us take a look at the long distance image. Okay, so at f8 I can see that the color rendition is near the same. The only difference is maybe induced by just by the color that is given by the lens. Okay, and then here we take a look at the chain. Impossible to tell the difference. Okay, and then here at f8 now it's looking really good. Okay, the crane did move. But then, okay, now we can say they are really comparable. At f8, with the Nikkor being slightly sharper, we can tell maybe from these lefts on here, and then this thing here, whatever that is. And then just to finish, let us take a look at f11, and then here, like every possible lens, once you go to f8, f11, it is impossible to tell the difference between two lenses, namely being cheap or expensive. They produce identical results at f11, and then you can see it here, La Reuse, this is the name of the river, and then you can see both images are identical. Okay, so this is all I wanted to show today. Now, if you are planning to get any of these lenses, you can get you can make an informed decision in which one to choose depending on the conditions you're going to use it. But then, all in all, in my opinion, both lenses are really good. So, thanks for watching and see you next time.